Chapter 2. You watched as Haruna disappeared down the block. He turned and glanced towards the others, his grin retracting, morphing into a straight line. He dropped the remnants of a cigarette and ground it into the concrete.
Okay.
Blowing smoke in her face? Went too far, bruh, muttered Tim. He wiped a tear that had leaked from his eye. Still hilarious, but damn, straight savage. Jackson shrugged his shoulders and pulled out a lighter. Huh, serves her right, though. She's such a bitch. Yeah, we live in Canada. It's a free country. She needs to check herself for real, said Cody, sounding higher than a zeppelin and overflowing with even more hot air. Leave it to Ryu to set her type straight, like always. Following 20 or so minutes of time well wasted, Ryu gave a roll of his shoulders. He stowed his hands into the front pocket of his hoodie and stepped away from the others.
Yo, where you going?
One of the guys, Kevin, shouted after him. Ryu spun to face them, walking backwards.
I've got business. Peace.
He gestured a sideways view before turning again and cantering off. He didn't need to explain to them. His business was his. No matter, though, because Ryu wasn't even 4 minutes from the school grounds before he got the sense he was being followed. He stopped in his tracks. He half-turned.
I know you're following me, Seth.
Seth froze. He had trailed some distance after Ryu, but he hadn't been subtle. Seth raised his arms in surrender.
Got me,
he joked. He then returned his arms to his sides and remained standing there, awkward and staring. Ryu grunted, not bothering to question him as he pivoted and marched on again.
Hey, that's it? You're just going to walk away?
Seth called out. In no time, he appeared at Ryu's side, his long legs falling into step with Ryu's.
Not sure what you expected. I told you I had stuff to take care of,
Ryu mumbled.
That stuff? So when are you gonna quit all that stuff?
Ryu rolled his eyes.
You asked the question like I have a choice.
He then half-smiled, peering at Seth from the corner of his eye.
Besides, who said I want to quit anyway?
Seth sighed. He'd given up on pressing the issue, much to Ryu's relief. The boys walked onwards, a slight breeze in the air as the sidewalk split into two, and they turned along the bend, allowing a second breeze to lash against their faces. They stopped at the usual corner, and Ryu entered into the convenience store as Seth stood outside and waited. Once done, Ryu took care to tuck the brown paper bag into the front pouch of his hoodie and slipped out the doors with a casual stride. He gave Seth a nod, indicating he'd finished what he'd come to do, and the two were off again. It had been 5 solid minutes before Seth spoke.
So, the guys were thinking of hitting up O'Brien's tomorrow night? Yeah, camp me out. I've got plans.
Ryu sighed.
But next time for sure. I'm down.
Seth grinned.
Sounds good.
Ryu stopped. He turned to his friend but didn't return the smile.
So what did you really want to talk about? You didn't follow me and wait 15 minutes outside the smoke shop just to tell me about Saturday.
Seth looked taken aback, his face blank for the slightest second. He emitted a light chuckle.
Huh. Yeah, I'm an open book, right? Well, I guess I just wanted to say maybe go easy on Haruna?
Ryu blinked slowly.
You're kidding.
Seth had to have been, because those words sounded beyond ridiculous to Ryu. Seth offered a weak shrug, hands in his uniform's pants pockets as he tilted his head.
Well, I mean, you're always kind of giving her those death stares. And have you seen what those look like coming from you?
Ryu knitted his brows.
Yeah, so? I don't see her smiling in our direction either. For one thing, she called you an idiot. Are you one?
Bruh.
Seth brought his arm up and rubbed the back of his neck.
Look, I'm just saying. No need to be in her face, dude. Literally.
Ryu leered, visually dissecting his friend's freckly face. It was interesting the way Seth always acted so relaxed and chill. Yet he was also persistent, so set on having a perfect moral code. In some ways, Ryu admired it, but most of the time it really just irritated him. Seeming to detect Ryu's annoyance, Seth looked elsewhere. Ryu was amused by the way he'd caused Seth to be unnerved at times. It didn't matter that Seth was almost 6 feet and had more than a few inches on him. That's right, height meant nothing. Ryu sneered.
I know what your problem is. It's about a friend, am I right?
Seth let out a deep breath, pulling his hands from his pockets, then clapping them together. Honestly, I'm this close to asking Gabrielle out. So I mean, like maybe don't ruin things by being a grade A dirtbag to her best friend. It would be real thoughtful of you.
Please. I don't care who the hell you date or whatever. But don't tell me crap about sucking up to some stuck-up girl like her. Or any other clown from this school.
Oh, come on. You know I don't mean...
Whatever, Seth. You do you.
You shoved by, ignoring Seth's bewildered expression or him calling his name as he continued down the street. The bus pulled up as Ryu came to the crosswalk. The driver didn't dare drive off once subjected to his glowering. The door opened and Ryu boarded, tossing several coins into the fare box. He jetted straight to the corner seat farthest to the back. Heaving a sigh, Ryu pulled his hood over his head and tilted his neck back, earbuds in, shutting his eyes to think to the steady beat of Notorious Thugs. To say Ryu felt stressed out lately would be an understatement. Friday evenings were hard, second only to Saturday nights. Who knew what news would be waiting for him when he got home? Which one of his brothers screwed up this time? Who might be the next to find themselves face down, kissing pavement in some damp dark alley? Which of his brothers decided to impress father, going above and beyond? Of course, above and beyond never impressed father. Father hated unpredictability, hated rash actions. People who acted on their own, these were the people father hated the most. You had learned it the hard way. It was pretty unfortunate, but it was a dog-eat-dog world. People have to do what they have to. They want to survive, that is. Ryu opened his eyes and observed his fellow commuters. It was 5 minutes after 5. Rush hour traffic meant this bus ride was going to be a long one. Even so, the bus wasn't too crowded yet. Those who rode had their heads buried in newspapers or eyes glued to their phones. Ryu scoffed. Must have been wonderful, actually wanting to look at your phone. Ryu hated the thought of his. Every text or phone call meant the difference between life and death. The bus stopped at Rosedale and East Point and a teenager got on. Her gingery brown hair was pulled into a high ponytail. Ryu jostled forward in his seat and watched as the girl flashed a day pass. She turned, and he felt his body calm. It wasn't her after all. Now that Ryu saw this girl, in full view, dressed not in their uniform but casual clothes, he realized she wasn't even Happa, or what they'd be called back in Japan, Hafu. An easy mistake to make. Haruna Mitsukai was a girl who really didn't look too Japanese, save for her slight frame, her heart-shaped face, a certain something about her. But Haruna's light hair was like this girl, same color, always in a ponytail, and Haruna's wide, double-lidded eyes were green. Or blue? You could never quite tell which it was. Her eyes always seemed to change color. 24 Park Lane. Ryu turned to his right, offering a weary glance at the back door as the bus came to a lurching stop. The familiar ding sounded, and a graying man pressed against the door to exit. A bevy of people came in through the front. The robotic tone of the automated bus announcer came again. Next stop, 48 Park Lane. Public transit was the pits. Ryu skipped through his playlist. Next song, Everyday Struggle. He glimpsed again at the back of Ponytail Girl's head, watching the sway of her hair as she stood, struggling to maintain balance, her grip fixed on a yellow pole as the bus became more and more packed. How could you possibly take that girl for Haruna? No way would she be caught on one of these nasty buses. Like most others at Shady Glen Academy, those of privilege, she lived in the surrounding neighborhood it was named after. Like any other elite gated community, Shady Glen Estates had large houses on vast lots, with grand driveways room enough for 2 or more high-end cars. Tailored gardens, manicured lawns, clean and unsullied sidewalks reserved for walking prized purebred dogs or children who drove their own motorized miniature cars. Those who didn't walk to the academy, those beyond the gated community, drove or were chauffeured, as expected. You didn't have such luxuries. Not that it bothered him much. He knew what wealth looked like, even if he'd never been to Shady Glen Estates. As far as he was concerned, those people with their ivory white smiles were fake. They didn't know how hard life could really be, or how easily it could be snuffed out. Ryu was reminded of Seth. How could anyone find Gabrielle and girls like her, like Haruna, attractive? Though they all irritated him, Haruna was the worst. If all the world really was a stage, as Shakespeare said, then she was an actress worthy of a Tony Award, a girl whose popularity was based on nothing more than bootlicking and pretense. Ryu seldom found girls attractive, but to him, Haruna was the ugliest. Gabrielle came in at a close second. Who was Ryu to tell Seth he was chasing Calamity and that no girl was worth the trouble? This was Seth Jordan. The boy couldn't be persuaded. Maybe it was the one trait they both had most in common, pure stubbornness. Seth was Ryu's closest friend at the academy, the only one who even knew what Ryu's Friday evening looked like. The other guys, Tim Sims, Jackson No, Kevin Sang, and Cody Yao, were just more actors. Seth was real, but his weakness was like everyone else's. He would never understand Ryu's life, no matter how he tried. One day in Ryu's world, and he'd crumble under the gravity. Red Creek Road and Main Street. Ryu looked out the window, its outside streaked with a week's worth of dust and grime. The sky had turned navy blue. It must have been nearly 6 o'clock. He yawned as the bus twisted along the familiar block, known for its broken and grubby sidewalks and its weather-worn graffiti-scratched buildings. The bus drove onwards, jerking and rocking, crossing one or two of the road's many potholes. It passed the usual storefronts, dingy, deserted, and barred with grills. Those metal bars kept valuables in and the valueless out, the kind of people who frequented the area late at night, the disheveled, downtrodden locals with yellow teeth and dead eyes. This strip was at the heart of East Campbellton, and ground zero for tomorrow night's ventures. Just farther on, just 12 minutes later, the scene would change again. Ryu rubbed his eyes. When he removed his hand, coming into view was the secluded property surrounded by ancient pine and maple trees, secured by gunmetal gray fencing. On the lot was the large residence, legendary despite being rendered in generic tones of pewter and beige. This was home.
893 Wood Valley Crescent.
Breathing out, Ryu lifted his arms to pull the string. The bus crawled to a stop and he got to his feet, hands dug into the hoodie's front pouch, fingers brushing against the brown paper bag. Another day, another hustle. With heavy strides, Ryu plowed through the exit doors and faced the dark.